Impromptu video without much planning. About 15 minutes after 7 a.m., 16th day of January, year 2021. I about let my wood fire go out. I had to work on it. I even got down there and split on some stuff in flip-flops. Oh, we're right around 30 degrees. But out here it's supposed to warm up to like, that one's barely above in the package, about 31, 30 and a half, I guess. But we're supposed to warm up, and I don't know how I look. My hair's crazy. We're supposed to get up, I think, around 50. So anyway, this is all going to melt away today. Other than what's in the shady areas, the shade line, and the tree line. Very well won't completely melt away today. Unless we get significantly above 50 degrees. Even then, some of the really, really shady areas, the snow sticks around in a while. It'll be like on the shady side of a ditch line near a highway, or on the forest side, the shady side, or the north side or something. It'll stick around, and it just don't ever get any sun. But, kind of saying short, or try to, me saying short, like, oh, that's an impossibility. He may intend to, but he didn't write out a script or try. Yesterday I was out here, I heard one loud kaboom that way. Kaboom. And yes, me and this particular person, who's asleep, so many Saturdays ago. It might have been the last Saturday of December last year, 2021. Unless it was the first Saturday, and I don't think it was, of this month, year 2022. I have to be careful or I'll say it wrong. There's part of me that wants to, I have to know. I'm in a position a lot of unknowns on this rental side, potential business idea, developmental side, where I'm having to compromise some, There's part of me that, the code, meaning like legal, governmental regulation, open it up for a few campground areas, be it the traditional style pitch a tent and campers, or a few. I'm not saying a lot through here. I don't want a lot of development, because you're kind of going backwards. One on your privacy side, two on your pollution side, but three in connection with two there. If it's done right, you can be careful on the pollution side. If a camper or something like that, if there was developmental measures put in place for something like that, which that's where you have to be careful. To say plainly, and without me taking a walk out in my yard, because I'm not in the mood to do it, and I need a cap on because my hair is crazy. This is technically behind me, other than these hills along the highway, and maybe north of the river that runs through here, north of me. This is the north side of State Highway number 8, westbound if you're going towards Mena, Arkansas, eastbound if you're going towards Glenwood, Arkansas. I don't know what changes have all taken place on that. Going back maybe not quite a year ago, or maybe 9 months to a year ago, I'm looking at some map deal online. I don't know if it was a trick, a mistake. I'm seeing four-way stop in Norman, Arkansas, north of it, a section of it saying Highway 27, and then in between like Cattahill School and Liberty Road, or where Liberty Road junctions up to State Highway number 8. I'm seeing on and off sections between there, basically Cattagap, Arkansas, and where the west end of Liberty Road junctions to State Highway number 8. I'm seeing sections of it not say State Highway number 8, but Highway number 7. And the mailboxes are on this side. So historically, I think because of the 911 system and the mail route, one of the two or both. And I think I remember asking as a kid, or something to that effect. I think I remember as a kid asking my grandmother or some adult, what determines which side of the highway your mailbox is supposed to be on. I'm like, hey, me and Mom live over there, but you guys live over here, but everybody's got their mailbox on the same side of the highway. And I think I briefly, vaguely, without overanalyzing it as a young child, that Yeah, the mail carriers. Well, I didn't maybe take that into account. They don't want to crisscross from either side of the highway. That would be inefficient having to cross. But I don't know. My grandmother or somebody just told me that the route that they go on, determines the side of the highway that the mailboxes are going to be on, regardless of what side the residence is of the state highway, or even in this case, a county road, like maybe somewhere in or near off of Sulphur Springs Road in Montgomery County, Arkansas. But anyway, you've even had a few areas opened up, for camping. That opens up a lot on the liability side, over the management side and or administrative side. I mean, in some of that, just to have measures in play to reduce the liability side, maybe even reduce the amount of liability insurance. I mean, if you're going to let, because I mean, there's a lot of things that have to be taken into account. Not only, as I said earlier, like to code, if not going to have a septic deal on the ground that can be pumped out of, it would be have to known in advance, like. You either have to have your septic deal pumped, and I think some, like even just RVs or campers, can go up to 30 days before they have to have it pumped. So, but anyway, I'm saying I'm in a situation, where that, I may not, even if I could do it, unless I, had a backer and we agreed on the plans and specifications on the developmental side, well, then again, even though I got the camping rights, I don't know what measures. I mean, ever since I signed off, late September 2006, as a young man that wasn't even 23 and a half years old yet, I mean, it does explicitly say that, I mean, all around me is leased premises. The north-south boundary line is pretty much at that bush line. I'm facing relatively west. There's the state highway. That's westbound the state highway. That's eastbound of it. So we can just pretend, that's relatively southbound. Behind me is relatively northbound, or the north direction. Like I say, where does it show their year? Anything that's been around since 1940 something or longer, they must be doing something right. I've put it in a lot of my stuff, even the crankcase, like up to an ounce or less in the crankcase in my 4.0 liter 6-cylinder Nissan Frontier 2010, and I'd like to have another one like that. Low mileage, well taken care of. It was a crew cab, meaning 4-door, full-size cab, limited edition. Only thing that was non-basic about it was a 4-wheel drive. And I found out those cabs, even if they're not the true extended cab, I'm not totally losing my train of thought here. If they're not, even if they're the extended cab, where you don't have the true additional 2 full-size doors, for the passenger, if you don't have your 4-wheel drive, and just in stuff like this, or a rain, a not very steep ditch, you get off the side of it in a rain or this, you're going to get stuck easy. And because of the weight distribution, if you don't have that 4-wheel drive. And believe me, I would know, because I'm somebody that's been around on these so-called river bottoms or lowland in heavy rains and other environmental conditions such as this in 2-wheel drives. I grew up with 2-wheel drive pickups, and technically that beige one over there on the other side of the green S10, that 93 Cheyenne full size, it's rated as a true full-size pickup. But all these in the yard are 4.3 liter. I've been driving that full-size, the one farthest from me, since I was 8 or 9 years old. I've been driving this green 96 Chevrolet green S10 since I was 11 years old, and bought it from grandparents at the age of 18. One of the few or only times in my lifetime that I remember they didn't do a trade-in on that 2001 Blue S10. When got it here, it was actually special delivered to the Chevrolet dealership, and I actually did more of it than Paul. My grandfather, Mr. Paul Griblin, the late Mr. Paul Griblin. I was with his wife, Miss Gladys Griblin, of about 56 years. And she went on to live, beyond statistics, I'd have to do the math, but she lived like 15 years after his death. He died the year he would have turned 80. And if she was alive late this April, she would be 100 years of age. And anyway, I remember when I wasn't there the day I got that truck. It was that they didn't have what my grandmother wanted. I mean, keep in mind, I'm pretty much fresh into 18, or if not 18, I'm getting really close to it. And my memory's not that great about the matter, but I do remember the following. Um, I don't think, yeah, that one had to come from whatever they had on the lot, the color of it, or there's something about it my grandmother didn't like. I don't think it wasn't like a standard versus automatic. She never knew how to drive a standard. She didn't learn how to drive until so many years after she's married to her husband, Paul. She gave birth at the age of 26, somewhere either before that, after that, she learned how to drive. No, way after that, because a longtime neighbor that lived, like, their closest neighbor at the time on the other end of this tree line, or where the old garden is, that woman, first name Willie Mae, she's the one I would still have them in my house probably if somebody hadn't been, I don't know, gone through stuff. Wrote out the not long before that person took the written test for the driving test, and anyway, I don't know if my grandmother already knew how to drive on that and just hadn't officially taken the written test to get her driver's license, but she done it later in life. My grandmother, really, in hindsight, she didn't like being a housewife. Was basically her job. I mean, she's stood by gates, opened gates. She's done what her husband wanted. She religiously put 3 meals on the table a day, unless she was just feeling really, really bad. She did all the laundry. She did all the bill pay. She pretty much did it all. But I'm saying, without her just coming out and saying that's what she wanted to do. I mean, me and my mother learned just by the analysis of it, or the observation of it. She didn't want to work outside the home. She didn't. That woman did have a level of anxiety, a level of, she did a level of being around, I guess you could say, groups or strangers. And I'm not trying to say anything bad. I'll get back on the business side in a minute. And that's one of my last videos I uploaded, where I'm showing a photo of her husband and brother-in-law, my grandfather, and who lowered me in that artesian well. I call it an artesian well, and it's in river bottom territory. And when it rains, there's areas a lot that bubble out of the ground water. And we've got water on the other side of it that's technically on the lease premises to them. But there's only 2 areas on this side of the highway that are not within the lease premises of the international company CG Roxanne LLC. This almost up to 12-acre tract that I'm on here, which back in June of 2008, after almost 6 months of building the pad for an additional plant, which I can divulge, and it's public knowledge that any of the locals knew about it at that time. And it says in there, it's not confidential, that in the contract that they have to tell me their plans and specifications, and that they're, to say it in my own way of wording, without reading from a contract that I haven't really read from page by page in many, many, many years. So long after my mother passed, I had looked up sections of it, I guess you might say. But other than that, I haven't done a major, what I remember is what I remember. But anyway, it was surprising that it says in there that they're not, I guess when they get plans and specifications going, they're not, and it says the landlord has the right to know them, and it even says in there, they're not to significantly deviate or change their plans and specifications. And then if I read it, and there's 2 different agreements. They're not allowed to do purified drinking water. They're not. Now, if that's, believe me, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to even not right now, and not in this format. And I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, but I'm doing my own whatever resources I've had to use, be it in the business role and other roles. I'm using what I've had. I mean, I've been having a lot of device limitation in more ways than one, going on a year, and having to rely on touchscreen devices in a way I never anticipated. And I was slow to get into them. I mean, my long-time 3651 number, just last June 2021, it went to its first ever smartphone. And I had issues thereafter. I still got it, and it's got cracks on the screen. Oh, I hear a plane. Don't cry or crash if you're evil. Not on my house or where I live anyway. If you're greedy evil, and I've learned, the cliche statements, they used to say it about oil companies, I even heard it in high school, not only about energy. Oh, and I'm walking down the highway, the tree trimming deal's been going on in service Well, I think that particular hackberry tree, that's the north and south, that's not only the southwest marker. I didn't look at it, but just to speculate closely, I walked past after I heard that big kaboom, and the neighbor right across from CG Roxanne, I said I heard a kaboom. He said it come farther down that way, so he acknowledged he heard it. And I said, well, about 2 or so weeks ago, and it might have been longer than that, I said, I heard it right across from my house. It wasn't that same kind of kaboom sound, but I heard at least 3 of them on that particular Saturday night about 7:55 p.m. And I text that neighbor soon after it happened, after even pondering out loud with the person that was with me, like, you think you should call the sheriff's office over it? And then she said no, but I ended up doing it anyway. I mean, somebody's tried to use intimidation tactics on me. I mean, it's really a level it's indirect terroristic threatening. I mean, that's a very serious charge. And it's like wanting to scare me out for some reason, wanting to intimidate me, scare me. I don't get it. I mean, and some of it would be that direction. I'm sorry to point out. I mean, this person. Oh, and he even told me last time I saw him in person, right in front of his wife, when I went over there and drank beer. He says everyone says you're crazy. In hindsight, I'll shoot him a text before or after I load this. Who is everyone that says that? You mind to gossip the names on over to me on what you know that I don't know? Because he's also, I mean, come on. I swear on my life before God Almighty, not that I'm trying to call him out, but these people around here, they do gossip. They do say things behind my back, and they do presumptuous acts. Just the key word, presumptuous. No, worse than presumptuous. Assume boldly. You know, to presume means you at least have pre-existing causes of some level of evidence to lead you to that conclusion. Assume means you have that, but a lesser version of that. Yeah, but I mean, come on. I even asked somebody's opinion. The last day, Kid the cleaner was here with the 18, 19-year-old young woman. And I keep hearing about human trafficking, if I were to reference it. And I actually got worried. You know, it finally hit me last summer. I'm like, maybe it has something to do with that. And I anyway, I might not should talk too much about that. I don't know. There very well could be an investigation going over it. And but anyway, I mean, like in August or whatever. I mean, if somebody could timeline what I've documented online, within about a week and a half, 2 weeks after I found the bullet in the barn, which I think's been up there to a year plus, but whoever done that, there's potentially more than one, that higher holes, I was too high, I didn't have a step ladder to run in my straight line to find a potential point of impact of the bullet. They done it because they're mad at me. Or mad at me, got anger, hatred, resentment, greed, envious. That's the only thing I can come up with, you know, and want me out. But anyway, I'm saying right soon after that, you know, he's mowing on this side of the state highway from my late mother's mailbox, not that mailbox, next man, he's mowing just along that. And I was walking, I went to Total Wireless, I had a particular Samsung phone. I was doing a certain number. I was trying something out. I couldn't really use it, even in the summertime, unless I stepped out of the porch. Yes, I've seen other devices, you know, pick up a weaker signal better than other ones. And plus, in the middle of summer, when the trees are thick with leaves, it prevents the signal or dead zone around here. More so. I mean, in dead summer, when the leaves are not gone like they are in the winter, they block between here, you know, in Norman, Arkansas and Water Tower Hill, where the cell tower is located. It blocks the signal, you know, not just by line of sight, which is, I think, how cell towers operate, which I've known for many years, but it blocks, you know. They even say in your home, you know, on certain devices, don't put, you know, put it up in an open space. Don't put it up against a wall. Don't put it up next to a refrigerator, or you know, the signal will get blocked. Well, anyway, I got Kid the cleaner here with a longtime friend of hers, and I'm like, you know, this is going back up to a month ago or more. You know, last time she cleaned here, and and her friend who I've met on and off in the past over the years. One of the first times I didn't totally dislocate my shoulder up at a swimming hole in the government about a mile upstream from here or west of here. Was one of the first times for me to do a partial dislocation on my left shoulder. I mean, it was weak, and that's how. If it hadn't been weak like it was, it wouldn't have done the dislocation in the first place. And a lot of it was due to a lot of typing, a lot of formal typing and research and things like that. It just. Anyway, I can't even hardly to try to make me write with this left finger or the left hand. I couldn't do it, with like my right. Anyway, I'm like, I even bring up, I'm like, neighbor, after I find the bullet and I hear the shooting, a pattern of shooting of late 2021 to early 2022, where there's up to at least 3 occasions after I would do a public, before I started getting restricted on Facebook, after I would do a public video within 10 minutes, and it would typically be when CG Roxanne, the bottling plant, was in operation. In other words, not a lot of witnesses, either by sight or hearing. There'd be boom, 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 loud, loud. And I took it very personal, and I noticed there was a pattern to it. And I noticed this person was watching what I was doing on Facebook. I mean, he even told me a couple months ago when he's here. I mean, I swear this man was like, my little Chihuahua dog is going up his legs. And she walked in like she is hurt. And he even outright told me to my face, he's like, I'd like to buy your mom's property where you grew up. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, because it butts up to mine. And I mean, I did the listening. I literally did the listening. He did more of the talking. Back up a little bit. The time before that, after the bullet is in the barn, I'm going to the highway. It's nice weather. This is like 2.5 months after I've seen pretty rainbows. It's getting into late summer, or about the time right after school started. Well, I go to the highway. I already have a feeling I'm going to see something awkward or out of character. But I'm going to go by that big oak tree, by the commercial driveway to the water bottling plant, spring water bottling plant. And bam, there he is, not far, leaving on this side of the highway, my mother's mailbox mowing on this side of the highway. And I'm like, what in the hell do we got going on here now? What's this about? I've already got a pattern, the first half of that particular year, not 2022, 2021, in like that prior year of him shooting after I do public commentary on a social media format, i.e. Facebook. And it's like, even one night, I'm out here talking to my phone about 10 p.m. and I hear him yell, shut up. What business is of yours? It's like, son, you moved in across the bottling plant. They make sound, they make noise. You're going to have to buck up and deal with it. You're going to have to deal with it. It's like he's an immature brat. I'm sorry to say it. I mean, soft-handed, Oh, he even told me he felt like dragging a trucker out. He said his wife said to a couple of truckers, I don't know when it happened, blocked the state highway bridge about a mile downstream of here, east of here. Said his wife almost died over it. And he said he after he got off the phone with his wife who was driving and he was at home, he watched in the same colors, the 2 particular colors of trucks, 2 different truckers pulled in, and he's upset, like, hey, you about killed my wife, blah, blah, blah. So he went over there and talked to him. And he said that the first trucker he talked to was nice. The second trucker said he felt like yanking out of the cab of his truck because he is rude. But that young man, it's a good thing I wasn't in a feisty mode. He showed up here. I don't know why they beg. I think on behalf of a distant cousin of mine with last name Griblin. He's like, I heard a gunshot that evening. I'm talking about a couple of months ago, but right before deer season was over. I heard one that evening. He's like, oh, that gunshot you heard was for me. He's like, the deer ran out that way. Can I go and look for my deer trail? Well, he wasn't that enthused about it that night. I let him drink my beer, let him talk, and listen. And I actually did more listening than I did talking on this occasion. And stranger unique, or maybe to my favor, what I remember and what I put together. He showed up the next morning wanting to know if he'd go over the property. Before he even left that mid-morning, the next morning, there's dogs coming upstream. It's like, whose? And it's why I've never seen it. I've never seen it in my life. From late 2021 from late 2020, early 2021, the amount of shooting in the area, not just from there, during the snow, before it melted, less than a year ago, that 10-inch, almost foot snow, whatever it was, less than a year ago, last year, 2021. I happened to be walking late one Sunday afternoon that way and up on the mountain that way, northwest of the spring property I've talked about. I heard gunshots up there. From to be doing in that kind of weather, unless they're trapping hog. I saw like deer hide, I couldn't identify. I'm like, this is not from a deer. I'm like, oh, okay, it must be from a hog. Well, it's like, unless these people are starving to live off the land, it's like they love what they're doing as a hobby, or